Greetings, ladies, gentlemen, friends, naysayers, believers, and everyone that is coming out and in between. However you flow is a go and is all love. Welcome to the waiting room. Today's episode is entitled, Can I Speak to a Manager, Please? The Rise of DEI or Die. Join us as we have a touchy-feely, in-depth discussion of diversity, equity, inclusion, and how ugly it gets when it meets power. Jump off the waiting list as we talk about it. Welcome to the waiting room. Greetings and welcome. Thank you for jumping off the waiting list for another eventful episode of The Waiting Room. I am your host, Just Jess. Thank you very much. And today we are going to start off with a very hot button topic. Now, phrases I'm sure you have all heard before. I like to call them triggers. Allow me to elaborate. Equal opportunity. One size fits all. I'm sorry, but this line is closed. And of course, the Great Rejection. I'm sorry, but we found another candidate that best suits our needs. Now, before I get into that, some of you might just, take that hit on the chin and say, you know what, maybe this wasn't for me, or maybe I need to just be better, learn more, educate myself, or internalize it and get super down on yourself. And you have those of us who like to challenge the status quo, shake some cages and say, you know what, I don't like the way this is going. However, it is those people that like to divert their power to displace authority. You find yourself saying phrases like, can I speak to a manager, please? Actually thinking that that is going to resolve your grievance. Now, before I get into the details, I like to welcome to the show a very, very, very good friend of mine who specializes in diversity, equity, and inclusion. He is a North Carolina native himself who has a current generational legacy of the very subject matter, diversity, equity, inclusion, by helping to integrate Forsyth County schools by way of his father and family members. He is a proud father of two, single-handedly started an HBCU program at a well-known organization, Lenovo, here in RTP, and is the leader of Team CT Consulting. Everybody stand up and give a warm welcome to our guest co-host, Mr. Ron Corley.
Wow.
Yes. Hey. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No worries. Now, you in the hot seat today.
Hot seat. Let's go.
In the hot seat. Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yes.
Right? Diversity, equity, inclusion. When do we start? How do we start? And when do we let it die?
Well, the last thing you mentioned, I'll touch on first. We can never let it die. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is a philosophy, a lifestyle that has to move culture forward.
Yes.
And so letting it die can never be an option. When do we start? We should have started yesterday. We all should have started yesterday, but some of us are just now getting to learn about the depths of some problems that exist in the community that is our collective community, but it's thought of as only our community.
All of those parts, y'all.
And how do we start? The how is like this. The how is starting a conversation either with somebody that looks like you or somebody that doesn't, and just try to talk to people about an experience that you've had, try to hear an experience that someone else has had, and see where those roads cross, see if you've ever been on the other side of the line that they're talking about, and then figure out how we move forward. But we're gonna get into a lot of that today, I'm sure.
We are going to get into, but first, I would like to ask my viewers a couple of questions. Where and how do you feel like diversity, equity, and inclusion is important to you? In organizations that you work for, even down to the products that you buy for your hair, skin, we are all so desperate to find ways to fit in. And unfortunately, organizations and companies that we work for hide it under legal jargon. They hide it under the guise that they are actual equal opportunity employers, that they are actually pro the culture of evolution and change, when in fact, they are truly just looking to perpetuate their own kind. Now, when to fight back and how to fight back. Clearly, when you are experiencing these things, common sense would say, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna like either go to HR or maybe talk to my manager and again, displace the situation in the attempt to try to resolve it. And you know that the situation and the current organization you are working for literally and purposefully is designed to block you. If you don't know, now you know. All right. They say that this world in America is built for everybody, but being number one, Black, and two, a Black female in America, we see it all over the news that Black, brown, people of color all the way around are socially not acceptable. So you might want to save this recording for your file or come back and view it again, because today we have a specialist that's going to dive into what he does in trying to ignite change in this particular situation.
I appreciate that. So let's start from the beginning. We've all been in scenarios where we are well qualified for a role.
Yes.
Well qualified for a promotion. Well qualified for a task that might be valued, highly valued, but because we are Black or brown, or because we are female, or because we are gay, or because of something, because of some deficiency, perceived deficiency that someone else in power has over us, we don't end up getting that opportunity.
Yes.
This has happened to me throughout my career, which has led me to this point. The conversations that we've had teaches me that the same thing has happened to you throughout your career.
All over.
And I know that it's not something that is unique to yourself and myself.
No.
This is unique to our skin tone.
Yes.
And our gender, your gender. Rather.
Yes.
So what we need to do is take those experiences and learn from them in a way that does not necessarily continue to drive the status quo forward, but it challenges the status quo. And I know that that's something that you hear about DEI all the time, but the problem with DEI as it exists currently in corporate America is that
the idiots in position of power.
Well, idiots are in positions of power. Yes. And well, if we start there, we could say that the people whose minds that need to be open the most potentially are in the positions of power.
Always.
Which means it's going to take longer for actual change to really happen, which means in the meantime, we still have to deal with the racism, harassment, discrimination, retaliation that currently exists within that organization.
Well, slavery was 400 years, so I guess we can, waste a few more.
We can keep it going,
Oh,
right?
my goodness.
There's a big, or a famous MLK quote, I can't remember it all the way, so don't hurt me, but it's basically justice that's too long denied is the same as no justice at all.
Yes, justice, injustice is an injustice everywhere. It is.
That's right. So what we focus on at Team CT is making sure that people of color, Black and brown people, biopic people, as well as allies, know that standing up for yourself is not what it used to be. Standing up for yourself is not going to necessarily always get you fired, but it can. And if it does, there are options. The options aren't just you looking for another job. The options are potentially litigation back against the company. And that's really what Team CT specializes in, helping to consult folks like you and I who are in situations that are leading down a pathway where we know we're going to end up on the wrong end of the stick. We're not going to get that promotion. We're probably going to get fired if we raise our hand because we didn't get the promotion. And so what do we do now? Team CT helps you plan, strategize, and then prepare after the fact for whatever your next move is, while also helping you prepare to take up litigation against your former employee at that point.
With that, give me, help me out, friend. Give me a little bit of a backstory.
Sure.
You didn't just wake up one day as a Black man and say, you know what? No, I want to rage against the machine and just start this initiative to help combat the culture and the breakdown of culture within our community. Where does this idea come from? How did you get started? Like personal experiences, yes, we all have it, but what was the tipping point for you? And you said, you know what? No more. I'm not doing this. And I can be a part of the solution versus the problem.
Well, the tipping point was the lie that was told to all of us as Americans by corporate America in 2020, when they all came out and said, and I say they all, and that's probably not a bad way to lump everybody together, but a lot of corporations came out and publicly stated hiring goals that they had or monies that they planned on donating or other community type events that they tried to initiate to create more synergy between Black and brown communities or communities of color in general. as well as those organizations. In that process, there was a huge lie because in order to do any of that, it requires money.
Yes.
And corporations are not in the business of giving away money.
Never.
Corporations are in the business of making money. So corporations all at the same time, while they may want to do something, they know that they cannot move as fast as they say that they're going to, because they have to figure out how it's going to be funded.
Yes.
In that process, we lose because we end up still having to be the ones at the bottom end of the stick of those policies that force us to assimilate in situations that don't require assimilations, cultural assimilations, in order to do a job.
Cookie cutter,
right?
Yes.
We are continue to be overlooked for roles that we're plenty qualified for and probably could do better in a lot of scenarios, but do not get, because that then disrupts the power dynamic that might be in the institution. We have to continue to deal with situations where we're the only person of a certain gender being harassed by other people who are in that organization, because the leaders are also of that offending gender, and they're not willing to take up the charge for you or with you. So in order for all of those things to change, in order for those people at the top to get it faster and to move the ball faster, we exist to push forth a different incentive, financial incentive for corporations to look at and say, hey, the more we get sued for dropping the ball in these areas, the more it's going to hurt our bottom line. Right?
That's a shame that you have to take it that far
to
get people to understand, but
unfortunately, because the current model of diversity, equity, and inclusion within corporate America is based on whatever the return is on the investment, those are the standards that we are working with. So we're going to play the game, right? If they want to force inclusion to create a financial reward for the company and for Black and brown people to prove that, then we're going to go the other side and say, okay, well, every time that you mess up, we're going to have people ready, set up to challenge those mess ups and not just sweep them under the rug like we've done before because we were scared of losing the job. Now we're taking the loss of a job and we're making it like getting arrested when Dr. King was marching.
Now, with that said, would you consider current models of culture inclusion with DEI the new affirmative action?
I think so, but I think that affirmative action is and has always been necessary. So DEI is a step farther than affirmative action was able to take and help progress Black and brown social efforts from an economic standpoint. The goal of affirmative action obviously was to give Black and brown people a chance.
Reparations!
Was to give Black and brown people a chance, but we found from affirmative action that even if we get the chance to interview, that doesn't mean we're going to get the job.
That's true.
You know,
this is true.
And even if we get the job, it doesn't mean that the job for us is going to be the same as the job was for the person before us, or that the job will be the same for the person that comes after us.
Clearly and carefully read all job descriptions, people. Look, when you have an opportunity, there's this one little clause in there. How's it go? And any other thing that is asked of.
That's it.
That completely obliterates anything that they probably wanted you to do. You may find yourself in a position doing and any other thing that is asked of versus what you were actually hired to do. Imagine that. And
so in the scenario like that, where the exploitation typically happens to Black and brown folks, where the expectation of the leader is that employee, that Black and brown employee, does not know that they're being taken advantage of. We're just going to keep pushing them to the limit and ask more things that don't necessarily fall into their job description. Those are the types of things that we thrive on.
Yes.
Because we want people. We want to expose the hypocrisy and the racism that is currently, like I said, swept under the rug because people are afraid to lose their roles.
Yeah,
this
retribution.
Stuff, yeah, it happens all the time. So we're here to expose it.
Nice. Well, let's help educate our viewers a little bit more.
Sure.
So you speak about, I guess, pinpoints or maybe awareness, certain things that we should look for in trying to help educate ourselves to solve for self before it even gets to the point where, you know what, I'm suing. not going to take it anymore. What are the things that they should look out for, things that they should be accustomed to reading and identifying? You know, a lot of the details get lost in the legal jargon of equal opportunity and what certain companies and organizations are putting out there. And we need to be able to learn how to spot a fraud, ladies and gentlemen. So is there any type of roadmap?
Well, every scenario is different. I know that sounds like a cookie cutter answer, and it's not meant to be. But every scenario is different because every organization is different. So that fine print that you're referring to is going to be different with each organization. However, documenting everything that's happened to you from day one until the day that you leave in some way, shape, or form is a gotta do for all people of color. We have to understand that just like any other relationship that might be abusive potentially down the road, or that starts off verbally abusive and could become mentally abusive because of the mental stress that comes with harassment, discrimination, and retaliation in the workplace, all of those things and all of those incidents need to be documented. And once you then get to the point where you think that documentation, or you've gotten to the point where you feel like your next step or one of the next steps is going to be you leaving that organization, that's when we step in as Team CT. We want to help, number one, organize those thoughts, whatever you've documented, and then build off of that. What else can we go grab? And not to go into too many of the details of how we do our scope of work.
Right.
But we work with some special DEI agents all over the country. We also work with HR consultants and legal professionals who we partner with. All of these folks, Team TT partners with, in order to create a more inclusive environment. Nice. All of these different organizations are in the struggle with us, which is why we call it team, right? Yes. Team CT. So with that, once you get to the point, then you would contact us. We would do a quick evaluation of your scenario and then tell you how we could move forward with a scope of work. And that scope of work would include, as I said, those DEI, HR, and legal consultants throughout your process of working with your own internal HR team, as well as after you work or after you're potentially let go from that role, that position. Then our legal team that you've been working with will take up your case. That's a part of the consultation that you get. You've already got a lawyer in the bag ready to go for you. And one of the partners that we work with to find lawyers is NELA, the National Employment Law Association. And this is
not Nia Long. Say it for them again.
NELA, N-E-L-A. And this organization is really special because it's a think tank of lawyers who are located throughout the country, who are all focused on employment law, number one, but all trying to help each other improve winning cases with in federal court with the EEOC's help, or sometimes without the EEOC's help. So this is a great group of folks to work with who are on our side and want to help see the situation change and want to be a part of that change. So I'm glad to have them as a partner.
So they are truly champions for better, and thank you for coming to spill all of the tea on DEI today. But before we go,
sure,
tell people how to find you.
Sure.
How to get in contact.
Absolutely.
I got a grievance. I want to sue. Who do I call?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Ron Corley the second. I'm very vocal, so you can find me talking trash on LinkedIn, which is something that not a lot of people do. But I'm also on betonbias.com.
Okay.
And that's the website for Team CT Consulting. And our slogan is that we are betting on bias. And this is all based on the numbers that the EEOC puts out, as well as folks like the Brookings Institute, who talk about not just diversity, equity, inclusion, but they talk about they give detailed numbers in hiring. It's another one of the people that we work with, or groups that we work with, in order to get data to help convince folks like you that what we're doing is the right thing.
Yes, amazing, amazing, amazing. So in short, please do not get comfortable in your discomfort. There are solutions to solve for self. You do not have to go have chats by the water cooler or send little nasty, nice emails about things and growing pain points in your endeavors. There are solutions to help Black, brown people of color, women, discrimination. It is out there. So find them. Don't call me, find him. Find them, we'll talk about it. You can have comments, drop them in the chat below, or you can find me here at the waiting room for anything that ails you. Thank you for coming out. Everyone have a good night.
All right, thank you.
Peace.